that helps.
Yeah.
Good evening, and welcome to the council meeting of October 24th, 2022. The meeting is being live streamed on Facebook Live, and the most up-to-date meeting package is on the Town of Kentville website. This meeting is called to order. Have all of the councillors received and reviewed their meeting package? Does any member of council have information pertaining to a matter before this council which has not been publicly circulated? I will remind members of council that we are in decision-making mode and we should be mindful of our decision-making wheel. We have committed to making balanced and respectful decisions and adhering to our code of conduct. This council, through policy by motion, has adopted Robert's Rules as our rules of order, our parliamentary procedure. We will be voting by electronic means for all votes except administrative. Are there any conflict of interest issues we should be aware of before the meeting commences? I note that all members of council are present and we have quorum. We have been provided with a proposed agenda. Are there any further additions to the agenda, CAO?
The only thing at this point, and I want to make sure under correspondence, all the items with regards to the zoning reapplication by Mr. Bryson, all those are in a file, so we're containing those all together, so that would not be on if anybody has some of the earlier agendas where shows correspondence there.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. I would like to add to the in-camera a discussion on the recent dismissal of a director.
Councillor, that matter cannot be put on the agenda as council has no legislative authority over Town of Kentville staff, and we have one employee, and that is our CAO.
Well, I believe that it's important.
Councillor Maxwell?
Yeah.
We have no legislative authority. Thank you.
We have the legislative authority through our hiring of the CAO, and I want to make sure that our CAO's decision-making
Councillor Maxwell,
is
please.
Not
Councillor Maxwell.
interfered with. And I don't know that unless we have some sort of discussion.
Councillor Maxwell,
Yes.
I cannot put on the agenda what you asked me to put on the agenda.
Can't or won't?
I cannot put on the agenda what you have requested.
Then I will discuss
Thank
it
you.
on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zabian?
Thank you. I'd like to have add to the agenda a discussion on the job description of the CAO. Specifically, that the CAO cannot hire or fire any senior staff or directors without the approval of council.
Councillor Zabian, that would be an in-camera
Well,
discussion.
then we'll add it to in camera then.
And I will refer you to the MGA with the duties of our CAO. Thank you.
So we're adding it to in camera.
We aren't there yet. I just want to make it very clear to you that we are discussing the CAO's job description
Correct.
as per the MGA.
Yeah, but we can make the rules however which way we choose.
No, we
craft them.
cannot, Councillor Zabian.
We can,
We-
there's no, other units have that in effect. I've
Councillor
checked around.
Zabian, Councillor Zabian,
So if we wish, as council collectively, as a group, if we wish to
Councillor
do that.
Zabian, we are in setting an agenda.
Yeah, and I'm adding
And-
something.
and
I'm
I'm-
trying to add something to the agenda.
Exactly.
Mayor Snow.
Yes. And what I'm asking for is a clear and succinct title. I don't want to know how we're going to get there or what the discussion is going to be about. What I'm asking for is the title. And I'm going to say, prompt you that we are going to discuss the CAO's
Job description.
job description as per the MGA.
Correct, okay.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, I see you, your flag. However, we have a request to add an agenda item. Council, how say you that we add in camera the CAO's job description per the MGA? All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Worship. I was going to suggest that we just add to the agenda personnel, but under the in-camera item. But if council is satisfied that under personnel, it would just be that one item, then that's fine.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Zabian, there's something else?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Snow. Just through the chair clarity, is that kind of tail on what Councillor Maxwell was wanting to discuss when you said personnel? That's different than what I just
That certainly
request.
is.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So we have one addition to our agenda, and it will go on our agenda as item 9A, and legal services will become 9B. So 9A will be in camera CAO job description. And then item B will be the legal services. Thank you.
And item C, personnel?
No,
Deputy Mayor just asked for that.
Councillor Maxwell? Deputy Mayor can speak for herself, thank you. Were you requesting another item?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mayor Snow, I thought that you just, sorry. I thought that you just said okay to the personnel item,
No, it
I'm
was to the
confused.
in-camera MGA item.
but that was the CAO's job description.
That's correct.
So what was the personnel one right now? I thought there was.
There is
no-
no personnel one right
Well,
now.
then I'll add a personnel one then. So that could be C then. Yeah, I thought that's what Deputy Mayor Savage just requested and you said, okay, unless I got
Okay,
confused there.
well,
Yeah.
then perhaps I'm confused.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the deputy mayor then.
Thank you.
Was it your request to put a personnel matter, or did you feel that we had it covered off with what we have
I'll add personnel, if it's the wish of council.
in camera? Okay. So we have another matter to add to the agenda. Council, how say you? All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried. Therefore, we have another agenda item, and this will become in-camera 9B, and legal services will now become 9C. And it will be termed personnel. So in-camera, A is CAO job description, B is personnel, C is legal services. Is there any further to the agenda? If we could have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. We have minutes to review. The minutes of the September 26, 2022 council meeting have been distributed for review. If there are no changes, the minutes are approved as distributed. If there are changes, the recording secretary will annotate the minutes in red, and the annotated minutes will be added to the electronic meeting file as approved. Councillor Zabian.
Thank you, Mayor Snow. 4C, the motion and the votes are correct. There's just missing some dialogue there, I guess, from Councillor Huntley, where she said that she wouldn't request any additional funding. That motion there is kind of open-ended with, and I know you had said it was for FCM, but it's still a motion and it's still a legal motion, so the language is kind of missing there. It's lacking.
As stated previously, Councillor, this motion was the second time we brought this motion before council, and this wording is as per the FCM request. The reason it came back to council is because we had not used their exact wording, so it is their exact wording.
Right, but it's still.
We don't change it.
No, I know, but it's still a motion with kind of an open-ended. Technically, that motion is legal, so I mean, if hypothetically anybody who's on FCM with that motion could travel and go to as many conferences they wanted to, whether the word was in, it is a motion. I mean, you can, yeah.
Certainly.
Sure, and so I think, Councillor, there was two components here. There was the motion, and then second, the question was asked, is that if funding was going to go beyond the budgeted amount, that it would come back. So there was a discussion at council, so it would be up I guess essentially this is council keeping council accountable. So the motion is very specific, but the conversation around funding, that was a conversation that happened here at council amongst council. And so my understanding is if there's any request to go beyond the budgeted amount, the councillor would bring it back.
Right.
That's what I understand.
Right, I know, and I understand that too, that's what we said, but there's still a motion here that says you can travel and it'll be paid for by the town. I mean, the language is there, you know, we can all understand that, so it is worded there. We didn't make a second motion that says that the counselor, or any counselor should come back and request funding, they'd have to request the funding, so, I mean, you know, it was poorly worded, I think. There was a piece missing, I don't know if it was poorly worded, but there was a second piece missing that's not there, so. That is an open thing, and there's not even a cap on the amount, so whether it's hybrid or whether it's any fees, we're gonna foot the bill on them, that's what it says there.
Councillor, each member of council is provided with a budget,
We do, but that's not gonna cover 4 or 5 trips out of the province, though, right?
but before a person can book travel, they must have authority and the funding to do so.
Absolutely,
And they
Mayor Snow,
have to
but-
come to council to ask for that.
But
And if we
that's
say
what that
no,
motion is, though, that's what that motion says.
it certainly is.
Yeah.
It's for somebody to travel
Right.
for FCM, and that FCM takes none of the cost of that travel.
Right.
However, we as a council manage the budget, and we set the budget. So it's up to us to determine whether or not we provide a member with further funds to,
But this is not the regular council budget, this is for FCM, it's very
no,
specific there.
no, it's the regular council budget.
I'm not gonna sit and discuss this all evening, but I think if you called the solicitor up, he would tell you that that motion says we will fund any travel to FCM by the councillor, that's what it says. There wasn't a second motion to say that whoever it is, whether it's me or Councillor Huntley or whoever, we've got a cap of 2,500 for the year, and if we go above and beyond that, we're gonna come back and request the money, that's not what it says.
And it doesn't have to say that.
Okay, all right, that's fine, I'm not gonna deliberate that.
All right, is there any other changes to the minutes? No? Yes. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. Item in 4B, where we're having a discussion about the police commission, I asked council to consider allowing the present committee members to continue to get the commission back on track. And then immediately after that, we went into tabling that motion, that there's no mention of my making an appeal to council to do that. That was kind of a recommendation. We immediately went into tabling, and there's no mention that I had asked council to do that. So I just think there should be a mention of that.
So can you clarify what you're asking for?
I asked council to consider allowing the present members of the police commission to continue in their roles to, I used the words, right the ship, but what I meant was put the commission back on track.
Thank you. Are there any further changes to the minutes? So recording secretary, you have all of those changes, and they will go on the electronic file. Thank you. All right, the next set of minutes is from our October 3rd Joint Regional Council meeting, and they have been distributed. Are there any changes to this set of minutes? None? Okay, moving right along. Our next matter is under business arising from the minutes or old business. Returning once again is the municipal assets naming and renaming policy. You will recall it was presented to council back in July. There was some changes made, and then it was brought back in September. However, all of the information was not there, and so you have been provided with this copy. So the motion would read that council approve the municipal asset naming and renaming policy. If someone could move that, please. Thank you. Councillor Huntley, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve the municipal asset naming and renaming policy. Is there any discussion on this matter? Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to approve the municipal assets naming and renaming policy. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. All right, our next item is the Police Commission bylaw, and this was tabled from September the 26th, so which means that we still have an active mover and seconder. It was moved by Councillor Huntley and seconded by Councillor Zabian. Are you still prepared to leave your name stand in those motions?
Yes.
Thank you. So it has been moved and seconded that council give second reading to the Board of Police Commissioners bylaw. Is there any discussion on this matter? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. So I did pay heed to what the solicitor had suggested that we do and read through the Police Act. In particular, section 44 that pertains to the Municipal Board of Police Commissioners. So there is a section in there, section 54, that says the members of the board shall undergo any training that may be provided for members of the board or required by the minister or by the regulations. So is that something that happens with most Board of Police Commissioner boards? Is it something that can happen? I guess, what can happen? Is it possible?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. So through the chair, there's two pieces. First, the Department of Justice offers their own piece, which is kind of introduction to being a board member with the Police Commission.
Okay.
And just overview of the provincial legislation, but most specifically kind of the roles and responsibilities. The second piece, and it's kind of tied to that partially, in that there is some regional training. I have not attended any of this type of training in other roles, but I also know that then there's some board training that can occur. So if you kind of break it up, there's the ability to tap the province, and then kind of overall, there is an opportunity through that with other boards also to achieve some training. So I know that there was a revamp on some of this with the Department of Justice as they were getting ready to offer it up to municipal units kind of who are at the beginning or the training of new board members.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, CAO. And as well, there was several training opportunities offered in Truro. You will recall that when Councillor Gerard traveled to Truro for various training events. Typically, it's held on the weekends, so that doesn't work for everybody, but there are training opportunities.
Okay.
Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up to what the Deputy Mayor asked, I've been on the Police Commission for 5 years and received absolutely no training. There is a binder collecting dust at the police office that was done, I think, in the 1970s, but it hasn't been taken out and the dust blown off it, and no commission members during my tenure, which is 5 years. I was not on for 1 year, have had any training at all. Thank you. Oh, yes, and one more thing. I did ask for an amendment to change the length of term to 3 years, and I was turned down, but I still think that should happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zabian.
Thank you, Mayor Snow. More of just of a comment. I kind of watched this police commission unravel, and it was unfortunate to see them all resign. So I just want to say a thank you to Stephen Pearl and Debbie Mahoney and Paul Walker for their many years of service on this commission. I think it's unfortunate because they've done their time, they've done well, and we do have other committees with people that have been there longer than the set out term. So we often neglect to follow the rules, and it's just unfortunate. So I just want to say thank you to them for their service.
Thank you, Councillor Zabian. Councillor Gerard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just through the chair, I'd just like to rebut something that Councillor Maxwell said. My tenure as chair, each member of the Police Commission received a digital copy of the book that's collecting dust, and also a copy that was done by Mr. Fred Hansberger and Mike Morash, who were from the Halifax Police Commission. It's a 200-page. It's not the training. It's what they think the training should be. It's very in depth. It's two individuals that one was Department of Justice and the other one was a long-term lawyer in Halifax. All board members received a copy of that while I was chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. Yes, perhaps we did receive a 200-page document. We had no sit-down training at all, ever, during my 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maxwell. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just, I have another question with respect to the Police Act. Section 53 says, "The board shall annually cause the chief officer to prepare a budget for the police department." So my question is, it's up to the police chief to submit that to the board, but does the board then have to approve it, or no? They simply bring it to council and council approves it? Like, what I'm asking is, are there two levels of approval? Because the way I read this, it doesn't look like there is.
No, there is not. And the next statement is that the board shall ensure that the budget prepared pursuant to the subsection is consistent with those matters referenced in 55, which is actually what the police chief is doing. And then further, it says the budget prepared pursuant to this section shall be submitted to council for approval.
Okay, so not two.
So not, that's correct. Thank you. Are you ready for the question? The question is on adoption of the motion to give second reading to the Board of Police Commissioners bylaw. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. We move on now to our recommendations and reports. And firstly, we will look at the recommendations arising from the CAC meeting on October the 11th, and they will be read and moved by Councillor Huntley. Councillor Huntley, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the October 11th, 2022 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, Director Dave Bell described the need for pre-approval of a single-axle truck for plowing, dumping, and salting in the amount of $400,000. Council Advisory Committee recommends that Council approve the $400,000 funding for the purchase of a replacement single-axle dump truck, complete with dump body, plow, and wing gear. And further, that funding be pre-approved for the 2023-2024 capital budget year from the capital budget plan, with delivery of equipment not expected until the fall of 2023. I so move.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve $400,000 funding for the purchase of a replacement single-axle dump truck complete with dump body, plow, and wing gear. And further, that funding be pre-approved for the 2023-2024 capital budget year with delivery of equipment not expected until fall of 2023. Is there any discussion on this matter? Are you ready for the question? The question is that council approve $400,000 of funding for the purchase of a replacement single-axle dump truck complete with dump body, plow, and wing gear, and further, that funding be pre-approved for the 2023-2024 capital budget year with delivery of equipment not expected until the fall of 2023. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. and the motion is carried.
At the October 11th, 2022 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, CAO Troke gave an update on the animal control bylaw with amendments that address the keeping of backyard chickens within town boundaries. Council Advisory Committee recommends that council approve the first reading of the revised animal control amending bylaw. I so move.
The seconder? Councillor York, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve first reading of the animal control amending bylaw. Is there any discussion on this matter? Councillor Maxwell.
Thank you. I'm not going to review everything that I've already presented to this council. However, I will say this, which was new information that I sent to council. But I did consult someone raising chickens in the country, and they told me that 3 hens will give about 2 dozen eggs every 5 days. So that's 24 eggs every 5 days. I'm not great at math, but 6 hens would give you 4 dozen eggs. 9 hens would give you 6 dozen eggs. That's 72 eggs every 5 days. 12 hens will give you 8 dozen eggs. That's 80 eggs every 5 days. 15 hens will give you 10 dozen eggs. That's 120 eggs every 5 days. And if we look at the maximum amount that we allow, which is 25 hens on a big lot, 24 hens will give you 16 dozen eggs every 5 days, which equal 192 eggs. Now, if we're not into encouraging production by our bylaw, I don't know what we're doing. And so it is important that councillors don't laugh at this bylaw, that you take this seriously, because what you put in print is cast in cement. Now, let's just take the idea, and this might be far-fetched, but we have developers all over town, some of them looking to develop land. They could take that land, if they don't get the zoning that they wanted, let's say, and they could divide it up into, well, 10,000 square foot lots. And they could rent it out to people who would like to raise 25 chickens on each of those 10,000 square foot lots. Now, I'm pretty sure that people in town would not want that in their vicinity. Forget about the fact that chickens will bring rats. Forget about the fact that chickens will also bring house flies. Forget about the fact that chickens carry salmonella, and when we're getting up into those numbers, people aren't using them for household use. They're spreading it around to their families and their friends and so on. And so if we had an outbreak, if somebody didn't look after their chickens properly, then we're encouraging that health issue to spread within our community. So one might think that this is funny, but it's not funny. And there are places in town right now that are dealing with these issues. And so if council wants to go ahead and put this bylaw in effect with all these numbers and the possibility of 192 eggs being produced every 5 days, then all I can say is go ahead and do it, but don't expect me to ever support it. And I will say 10 years from now, I did not vote for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor York.
Thank you. I would also like to point out,
Can you,
sorry, I am angled away, aren't I? Thank you. I would like to point out that in Canada, all of the progressive cities and smaller cities like Fredericton, Charlottetown, Halifax, Sydney, allow backyard chickens, and to my knowledge, there haven't been vindictive developers in any of those cities creating safety havens for chicken breeders. We also have to remember that human interaction bring rats, that it's not specific to chickens, it is humans in general. We, as a town, I don't anticipate a run on chickens. There wasn't a run on chickens in 2013 when the original bylaw was created to allow up to 6 or 2 to 4, or whatever the cap was at that time. People who want to have chickens will have chickens. This bylaw will not influence people such that they will have a backyard petting zoo, is my concern there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything further on this, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Worship. I know the last time that we spoke about this, I had suggested about max being 6, and that was not it was not unanimous, and it was not the majority. But I think part of what I had said before was around properties that were 10,000 square meters and properties that were 6,000 square meters, and that those were fairly few and far between. And I know that I didn't ask about how many there were around the town of Kentville, but would anybody have any guesstimate on how many there are? 10,000 square meters is a very large property. Yes, it is.
So, if I could, to the, through the chair,
Thank you.
I'm not aware of the specific numbers, but I'm happy to try and get that information and bring it back to council.
Thank you. Councillor York?
Through the chair, 10,000 square meters is about 2.5 acres, just for reference for people. Trying to think of a lot in town that exceeds 2.5 acres. I think there are probably 4. Just so
Thank
everyone is
you
aware.
for that clarification. Is there anything further on this matter? Councillor Maxwell?
Yeah, one final word. No, I don't think there's going to be a run on chickens. However, we already have issues in a part of town. And so do we ignore those people? Because you don't have it in your backyard? All right, if it doesn't affect you, does that mean you ignore the area where it is causing issues? That's something that council needs to think about. Cities are different than towns. We're a town. We're a rural town. Lots are close together. And we do have 10,000 square foot lots, and I would say one of them is very close to an area where we already have some issues. People bring rats when they're dirty, when they don't clean up their yards, when they don't do things like that. Chickens bring rats regardless. Regardless. I was told by a vet, you could have called the vet. Chickens will bring rats. They're a predator. Not only will they bring rats, they'll bring weasels and skunks and raccoons and other predators, coyotes, and so on. And so, yes, maybe we won't have a run on it. Let's hope we don't have a run on it. But what if we do? Do we make a bylaw for a minority and then, oh, too bad, majority, you're having issues? Well, that's too bad. Our bylaw will not help you.
Councillor, do you have anything germane to the matter?
I'm just, go ahead. Yeah, vote.
Thank you. Councillor Zabian?
Thank you. I'm just gonna echo on Deputy Mayor Savage's comments. I wish we could have made a compromise and picked just a flat number and not based it on size. I think, 6 would have been a great number, and just, I know last time nobody supported that, but get rid of the quantity by your lot size and just have a flat number for all, and I think that's probably a good compromise. I don't know if there's anybody taking on that, but that's where my head is, and I that's where I'd be comfortable with. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Huntley?
Thank you,
Oh.
Madam Chair.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just didn't know if you were just back on or not, but
Yeah, no
okay.
problem. What I'm wondering is, if we don't have that many properties that size, should it even be written at all? Like, can we just take it out? Does it matter? Why have it in there if we don't have the 10? It's just a question. It's not, I'm not arguing points. I'm trying to understand.
CEO.
So if you go to the genesis of most animal-related bylaws, generally have a proportional piece. So, and this actually goes back in time quite a bit to cows and goats and chickens. And so there's always been that kind of idea that different size lots have different size capacity. Not that it has to be that way, by no means. It's just kind of the premise behind that. I think also where we do have a few lots that are larger in size, then, you know, that may be a situation where, you know, it may be a lot where someone may want X number, and I don't know what the right number is. So this allows for that provision if they so want to go there based on that size of lot.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to propose an amendment. Am I able to do that at this juncture? We have a first and a seconder. Can I propose an amendment?
You may. We'll have to vote on that amendment.
Yes, absolutely. So under 11C, where it says the keeping of chickens shall be subject to the following conditions. And I would say where it says 1, 2, 3, 4 in Roman numerals, that there just be one section, and it says a maximum of 10 chickens on a property. Take out the square footage, take out the 15, the 20, and the 25.
A maximum of 10. So we are voting now on an amendment to the current draft bylaw that we have been provided. And it is item 11C becomes simply a maximum of 10 chickens on the property. And Deputy Mayor, I assume that you are moving that?
Yes, I am.
And if I could have a seconder to that amendment? Councillor Zabian, thank you. Is there any, we now, the motion to amend the bylaw to read a maximum of 10 chickens has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this matter? There's no discussion on the matter. Are you ready for the question? The question is on the amendment to the bylaw at 11C1 to a maximum of 10 chickens. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. So the question is that council approve first reading of the animal control amending bylaw. No? Voting is now open. You're voting on first reading of the bylaw.
The amended.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
The one that I just proposed?
yes.
We just proposed and approved the amendment, now we're voting on the bylaw with the.
With those corrections.
With the correction that you made.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I need clarification.
Okay, so we just had a motion where you moved it, Councillor Zabian seconded it, and that was to amend paragraph 11C, 1, to a maximum of 10 chickens. That passed,
Yes.
4 out of 3,
Yes,
and now we are,
in its entirety.
yes, that's correct. The question is that council approve first reading of the animal control amending bylaw as amended by the motion at this meeting.
So is it okay to just continue the vote?
Yes, please. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Councillor Huntley?
Thank you. At the October 11th, 2022 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, CAO Dan Troke presented the PACE amending bylaw, which addresses several administrative and financial issues. Council Advisory Committee recommends that council give first reading to the Property Assessed Community Energy PACE amending bylaw. I so move.
Thank you. Seconder? Deputy Mayor, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve first reading of the PACE Property Assessed Clean Energy, Community Energy Program Consolidated Bylaw. Is there any discussion on this matter? Are you ready for the question? The question is that council approve first reading of the PACE Program Consolidated Bylaw. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. And it is clean energy as opposed to community energy. Councillor Huntley?
I'm just waiting for my computer to
Oh,
come up. Here it is. Thank you.
Just before you count those votes, I'm looking at Jennifer. Is the right motion on the floor?
PACE program.
It's not what's in the agenda that I'm looking at. It's the amending bylaw as opposed to the consolidated bylaw. And the motion references the consolidated bylaw.
No, I have an amending bylaw.
I think you meant, in your, verbally you said consolidated, but the wording
Okay,
was amending.
amending bylaw.
Oh, sorry, you can't see that.
Yep.
Thank you. At the October 11th, 2022 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, CAO Troke reviewed the presentation by Frugal Moms Society earlier in the meeting and defined their financial request. Council Advisory Committee recommends that council approve a grant of $2,000 to Frugal Moms for distribution of rescued food in the Annapolis Valley. I so move.
Thank you. Seconder? Deputy Mayor, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council approve $2,000 grant to the Frugal Moms for distribution of rescued food in the Annapolis Valley. Is there any discussion on this matter? Are you ready for the question? The question is that council approve a $2,000 grant to Frugal Moms for distribution of rescued food in the Annapolis Valley. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you.
At the October 11th, 2022 meeting of Council Advisory Committee, CAO Troke described the proposal from the Board of the King's Transit Authority to electrify and reconfigure the fleet and the organization over a 2-year pilot project term. Council could support the work of the King's Transit Authority pilot project for the opportunity to leverage $8,760,000 in federal and provincial investments in transportation by agreeing to guarantee its share of funds for the ICIP grant application. Council Advisory Committee recommends that the Town of Kentville guarantee the temporary borrowing resolution in support of the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program available to King's Transit Authority in the amount of $11.95 million, of which the Kentville share represents 20% at $2.390 million, and repayment of the net municipal costs based on each unit's pro rata share of contributions to the King's Transit Authority set out in the King's Transit Authority Intermunicipal Service Agreement dated April 1, 1999. I so move.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Zabian, thank you. It has been moved and seconded that council guarantee a temporary borrowing resolution in support of an Investing in Canada infrastructure program available to King's Transit Authority in the amount of $11.95 million, of which the Kentville share represents 20% at $2,390,000 and repayment of their net municipal costs based on each unit's pro rata share of the contributions to the King's Transit Authority as calculated in the King's Transit Authority Intermunicipal Service Agreement dated April 1st, 1999. Is there any discussion on this matter? Councillor Gerard.
Thank you, Worship. I had asked the CAO when this came up at CAC. I don't like guaranteeing this type of money without the knowledge coming back or the information coming back to say what these buses presumably will cost, the cost of charging them, the cost to maintain them and everything else. Basically, we're securing $2.39 million blind, not knowing how this stuff's gonna work. I'm not gonna support this tonight. Not that I don't think moving that way is a good thing, but without solid facts coming back saying this is the data, because there are other municipalities that have done just this, so the data is out there. Anyways, I won't be supporting this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. CAO, did you wish to speak to the matter of where we sit as far as project?
Sure, absolutely. So at this point, of course, with the new board just in place for the pilot, there is an executive lead who's leading that business plan. Part of the intention would be after securing FCM funding and knowing that that's there, the business plan is going to look at two components on what are the vehicles and building requirements to the capital side, and then second, what would be the preferred route to be running for the next X number of years. From that, of course, would come a business plan. So really, there's about an 18-month window here where that information is going to be collected and come back to the board. And at this point in time, I think we have a November 15th cutoff day for the ICIP, so that's kind of why there was pressure on this to come forward as quick as it was.
Thank you, CAO.
If I could
Certainly.
just, so what you're saying is we're securing it, but the deal's not actually pushing forward until that information comes back, and I would support it for that, yes.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Are you ready for the question? The question is that council guarantee a temporary borrowing resolution in support of an Investing in Canada infrastructure program available to King's Transit Authority in the amount of $11.95 million, of which the Kentville share represents 20% at $2,390,000 and repayment of their net municipal costs based on each unit's pro rata share of contributions to the King's Transit Authority as calculated in the King's Transit Authority Intermunicipal Services Agreement dated April 1st, 1999. Voting is now open. Voting is now closed. And the motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Huntley. And we'll move on to our council reports. Councillor Gerard.
Thank you, Worship. My only meeting in the last month has been Kentville Joint Fire Services, and the bulk of that meeting was the auditor's report, which I sent out to everyone today. You can read through it if anybody's got questions. You can ask me tonight. You can email me, or actually, you can email Deb. But yeah, that is my report. Thank
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Huntley.
Thank you. There wasn't that many council meetings for the month, and I've written in there also about the joint council meeting that we met with other council municipalities to review the information on the regional recreation facility, which was very interesting. Public rezoning meeting for the Bryson development that was held here in Chambers. And one of the things that I wanted to do after that was walk the property that was up there, to, I guess, to start educating myself on what it looks like. Do I want housing? Sure. Sure I want housing. But what I did was I went through all the comments that were here from the community that visited the meeting, and I want to thank them for the care and the passion that they brought to that meeting. It was very enlightening, for sure. But what I did was I kind of put it all together in topics of what, so I could see clarity of what all their concerns were. Excuse me. There were many, for sure, but there was a lot come under the I'll say a top three. One was under traffic. And under that, it went anywhere from speed limits and increased traffic, construction traffic, turning lanes, one-way in and out, narrow roads. There was a lot of discussion about traffic study, how many were there, when would it start, when would it run through the day, those sorts of things. That's number two was water and flooding, and a few things came under that. One was water pressure. If there's low now, what will happen in the future? Water concerns, again, by many, flooding at the bottom of Acadia. There was talk about a rain garden possibility, no forced stormwater in drains, lack of green spaces, water issues, what is the process and the accountability of the developer. Another resident, talked about ice buildup.
Councillor, I'm going to interrupt you
Oh, I apologize.
no, not at all. However, this is more suitable for when we are actually debating this
Yes.
matter rather
Okay,
than
thank you.
as your report.
Sure, no
Thank you.
problem. The one thing I guess I'll finish up with, I just wanted to thank that resident who took the time to walk it with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Maxwell, Councillor Zabian, sorry.
Sorry, Mayor Snow, through the chair. Just, Councillor Hunley, I just have a question. I understand that there was a meeting, might have been last Monday evening or Tuesday evening with Point to Point, and I hear it was, there's quite a lot of action going on there. Just wondering if you have any update on that, or,
The meeting last Monday.
yeah.
The
I guess,
8 p.m.?
yeah, or I don't know what, no, I think it, they wanted a quorum, I guess, and it was last Monday or Tuesday evening.
The last meeting we,
Oh,
apologize
go ahead.
through the chair.
Sorry.
Thank you. The last meeting we had was AGM,
Okay.
and before that, we had a staff meeting. What had happened was some of the drivers wanted to speak to the board, and we didn't know they were coming, so there was probably 8 or 10 of them that showed, and they just wanted to talk about all the changes that have been going through, new hires, needing more drivers. They had some concerns about some of those things, and about one of their things was scheduling, for sure. And there's been a couple of people who have been there for 20 years, and one of them had left as retiring, and one is out sick. So there's been a lot of up and down, and so they had a lot of, I'll say, worries, concerns about how things are gonna go, what are their plans, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Through the chair, I'm not sure if we're talking about the right meeting.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, sorry.
it's
There
all right.
was one this week that just went by, and I found out after the fact that you couldn't attend. Yeah, they said that you sent your regrets, but you didn't notify me I'm your alternate, and I'm just confused. They needed a quorum, I guess, and I got some phone calls the next day wondering why I didn't show up in lieu of you.
Oh,
You didn't
my
give your,
apologies.
sorry, I'll go through the
I
chair.
did send them 3 emails, so,
That you couldn't attend?
yeah.
Oh, I'm just wondering why I wasn't notified to take your place. Because they did need a quorum, so, yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
I didn't hit. It's
Your
I'm
report.
next. I'm next, okay.
Yep.
All right, so I've attended all my meetings and I've got listed some of the different events that I've taken part in within the town. And my report is there for the Annapolis Valley Trails Association, which is doing great. Their budget is on target and everything is going well. And the Access and Inclusion and Accessibility Committee, my report is there. We had a really productive meeting, the last meeting, and people can read that. My report on Police Commission is a bit longer than usual, so that's the one that I will go through. I'm the vice chair of the Police Commission, and so I felt that it was important to update the public on issues that we've been facing. There has been no meeting of the commission because of monthly date conflicts and then a mass resignation of all 3 citizen members of the commission. Police Commission is made up of 5 people, 3 citizens and 2 council members. One of those citizens is our Department of Justice representative. I think resigning from a police commission is never done lightly. But all of these members had reached their maximum frustration level with what they felt was interference of Town Hall in the duties and responsibilities of the Police Commission.
Councillor, I will call you on a point of order for that interference of Town Hall.
I'm just saying what they were telling me.
It is an objectionable statement, and I direct you to refrain from making comments which are not in the name of good order.
I was just reporting what they were telling me, so I'm sorry about that. The Police Commission is governed by the Nova Scotia Police Act, and in this act, it states that the Commission is responsible for providing the administrative direction, organization, and policy required to maintain an adequate, effective police department. Part of the duties of the Police Commission, they're also responsible for providing civilian governance. And that's a big part. It was in the paper this past week about some issues with the mass casualty and some of the commissions there. So a couple of the incidents that they were upset about was, one, the police budget mandated by the Act to come to the Police Commission chair from the police chief. The chair is to bring it to the commission for review. And that we discussed tonight, not a passing, but a review. So it comes to the commission first for review, then the commission passes it on to the CAO, then to council. I guess that did not happen in the year that I was not on the police commission. And so that was, the members that found that quite upsetting. The budget went directly from the chair to the council. Then it was voted on by the council and the chair and the other council representative at the time, knowing that it hadn't come to the commission also.
That's another point of order, Councillor.
Why?
There is no violation of the Police Act for council voting on that. Council are the only ones who vote on a budget. So I'm going to ask you again to not make objectionable statements. You are contravening codes of conduct every time you do that.
Okay. But it is supposed to come from the commission to the chair. And that's what the Police Act says. So I don't know what else you would call it if it bypasses that. But
So who are you calling the chair?
I'm sorry.
No, I'm confused here. You're saying from
The chair of the commission.
the chair of the commission, yes, it goes to council.
It goes to the commission. You see, it says here in the act that, I'll just read it for you, that the board shall annually cause the chief officer to prepare budget for the police department.
Which occurred.
Okay, the board shall ensure that the budget prepared pursuant to subsection 1, ensure, is consistent with those matters referred to in subsection 53(3). You cannot, the board cannot ensure anything if they don't see the budget. And one person is not the commission. So those 2 sections there were bypassed. The board did not ensure that the budget was prepared pursuant to subsection 1, and the board did not make sure it was consistent with those matters referred to in subsection 55(3). So I'm not wrong. The wording, it may not be exactly the way that it should be, but that's directly from the act.
And your board chair also acts as your sole spokesperson for the board. And as you will recall, at that time, in both January and February of 2021, prior to that budget, we were in COVID lockdown. And there were matters of meetings that were not occurring. So again, there was no contravention or violation of the Police Act.
Again, there was, and because I've just read it here. Now, we could have done a simple Zoom meeting to ensure that the budget was prepared pursuant to subsection 1 and is consistent. We could have done that. Not me, because I wasn't on the board at the time, but that could have been done, and the members felt that was something that was upsetting, that it did not come. So that's all I'm reporting, is what I have been told. And I'm also in line with the act here. So I will continue on. After much discussion and vote for council reps, the chair was, we had a change in police commission members, and a new chair was put in place. And so some trust was lost when it came to that issue. The next issue was the evaluation of the police chief. Under the Police Act, the chief is responsible and answerable to the police commission. As such, the commission should do the evaluation. The new chair asked the CAO about the evaluation process and was told the CAO was doing the evaluation. Further questioning, I guess, and discussions took place, and the commission was able to submit their evaluation as well. Again, we have some contradiction to the Police Act, and so members were upset about that. The next incident was the review of the Kentville Police Bylaw. The commission recommended 2 changes to the bylaw. The change to have a citizen chair was deemed too restrictive and was dropped at the CAO's request. The second change was one in line with what the Department of Justice was asking their reps to try to do, which was make citizen appointments for 3 years. This was to provide more experienced commissioners as changes are coming to policing in Nova Scotia. This request was flatly rejected by the mayor.
Councillor?
Yes?
Once again, you are out of order.
Did you not reject that?
I most certainly did, but I am not the only member of this council. And I will suggest that you spend a little bit more time reading the act, because para 55, para 2B, rules and regulations of proceeding are the board, are based from the council, not from the police commission. And regulations para 76, so that's the police regulations, that the selection process used by council to select members, not the police commission. The police commission does not decide its terms. The Police Act is silent on that. Therefore, because the town of Kentville has policy in place, that policy speaks to our legislative authority to say that our terms of service are 2 years. So please, caution when you speak again.
Okay, it's just that the Department of Justice was the one that came
The Department of
asked us to
Justice
do that.
has suggested.
They
It was a
suggested.
suggestion.
Yes.
It was not mandated in any orders. The orders are very clear. They are silent on the matter of terms.
Well, the commission did ask for that, and so that was rejected. That's all I can say about that. That's the way that it went. The next item that they were upset about was that an advertisement was put out by the town seeking new members of the commission before the present members were informed their terms were up. They found out on Facebook that their terms were up. They found that very upsetting to those citizen members, and they felt very underappreciated. They thought that maybe a heads up that their terms were up would have been in order. One of the citizens thought their terms had just been renewed, and I guess had conversations with the mayor when their term was up.
Counselor,
Yes? Is that not true?
there was no conversation. There was an email asking about term of service.
Okay, I can change
I
that
have
to
the email right here if you wish for me to go through it. The person asked because they had been reappointed by the board, is what they said in their email.
Okay,
There's only one authority for reappointment to committees and commissions, and that is council.
right.
That did not occur, so therefore, their time had expired. They had already spent 6 years, and I was very concise in explaining that.
Right. Okay, so what the issue was that I had asked at that time, because that was right at the time that I had asked council to really consider the 3-year request, and that was tabled. Yet, your worship, knowing that, and that we hadn't voted on that at all, made no mention of that, I don't believe, in your email. And so
Counselor,
that was upsetting. Yes?
you're pushing the limits again.
Well,
I
I'm just
wrote-
reporting.
No, what you're doing is you're reporting on feelings. You're not reporting on the facts. The facts is that the term on the police commissions were up in November of 2020. However, due to COVID, the council was very mindful of keeping boards, committees, and commissions together to avoid any further disruption in service provision to our citizens. You were appointed to the Police Commission in 2016. As such, you served 2 consecutive terms and 1 COVID bonus term, giving you 6 years of service in support of the commission work. Members of all boards, committees, and commissions are appointed by council. Recommendations may be made by specific board, committee, or commissions. However, those entities have no legal authority to appoint members to a committee, commission, or board. The town made a call for application to boards, committees, and commissions earlier this year. The council will be making selection in November as per policy. I was very mindful of your request,
Okay,
and I stated only the facts by policy.
great. Well, those facts were taken as harshly, I guess, but anyway, that's all I'm doing. Those are the incidents that caused upset among the citizen members of the commission. They felt they were wasting their time serving on a commission that was supposed to be an arm's length from politics, under civilian governance, and so they all resigned. And that's what happened with our police commission, and we have not had a commission for a month and we won't have one until the new members are named, which is going to occur very shortly here, I do believe. I, as vice chair, happen to agree with the citizens, and I believe the commission has been ineffective at having citizen governance for various reasons. And until that changes and we get some training for the police commission and we start to develop policies and so on that allow citizen governance, I will not reoffer for the police commission until that situation is rectified. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor York.
Through the chair, if I might. In the interest of transparency, I am the other council representative. And also, when the Board of Police Commission was discussing the evaluation of a police chief, I asked the chair what were the previous processes when other chiefs of police had been evaluated. It was determined that neither of the 2 previous chiefs of police had been evaluated by the Board of Commission, or by the Police Commission, sorry, which would have been the only 2 other chiefs of police while this commission would have been serving. So while, yes, we were not invited to participate in the evaluation process, the Board of Police Commissioners had not ever been, in that living memory, been invited in the evaluation process of the chief of police. And in my first month on the police commission, we had training from the DOJ DOJ, Department of Justice, from Dave McLean and Haley Crichton, who spent an entire meeting with us discussing the roles, responsibilities, and expectations of a Board of Police Commissions as interpreted through the Department of Justice. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to respond. Thank you.
No, you're not next. You're not next.
Oh my gosh.
Councillor Gerard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a correction to Councillor York. The previous chair, the one that just resigned, and myself did an evaluation of Chief Chiquetto. After her, I don't think it was quite a year, but it was just after a year. So he and I did do a one-year evaluation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell.
Yes, that's great. I wasn't on the commission at that time, and so my statement about no training for my 5 years still stands. And I'm glad that there was something done, and I hope that there will be something done for the rest of the commission members in the future.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I didn't have too many committee meetings this past month, but October 17th was a REMAC meeting where we reviewed the Remo mutual aid agreements. We had a amateur radio update. We had the COVID-19 pandemic update and the King's Remo program update that encompassed the comfort centers, Remo social media, community outreach programs, etc. And I just sort of have at the end of my report there that I wanted to stress the importance of the Vulnerable Persons Registry. We talk about that at our quarterly REMAC meetings, and the registration for that such registry is not anywhere where it should be, and we know that there are many vulnerable people in Kings County, and so I would stress anybody who needs help with that or would like to register should do so. October 19th was Investment Advisory Committee, where the market value of our portfolio sits a little over 13 million. The year-to-date performance summary shows the fund down 7.26%. As compared to the benchmark, which is the balance income CAD 5 at 11.38%. So we are not down as much as the balance income CAD. We have a new investment policy statement in place, as most of you know, but we are treading lightly into the equity markets. In fact, it's likely in light of the economic pressures that we will lean more towards bonds as our funds come due. Our view forward is that the rates may commence a decline in 12 to 18 months, at which time we will be very cautious in moving into some equity pieces. September the 27th, I attended a public information session on McDougall Heights, and September the 29th, I attended the Center Square dinner in support of the KCA cafeteria program. It was a very special night, and I think it was one of the first dinners that was held in Center Square, and the funds were, I just said it was a special night, and funds were raised in high fashion. Kudos to Councillor York, and just wanted to say your commitment to this program is to be commended and admired. Well done. October 1st was Harvest in Kentville, along with Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. And I just said there, special thanks to Gary Morris, who was the top fundraiser in that event. And I know there was in excess of 15,000 raised for Chrysalis House. And October 3rd was the Regional Recreational Facility Joint Council meeting. And that is my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor York.
Thank you. I had a month packed with PTA events and meetings, as well as regional recreation facility meetings. So it's been a little bit busy at opposite ends of the spectrum, but it's been, as council is aware, we've had a joint council session, and then following that joint council session, we had a working group committee or steering committee meeting as well. We plan to meet back up again in November as a council, and then again in December as a steering committee, to hopefully be able to move forward and know what's going on. The PTA is starting of the year, so they're in the planning stages of all of their fundraisers, so that will happen between now and the end of this school term. So there's a lot of upfront work happening there by the dedicated PTA members, which is wonderful to see. Like most of my council colleagues, I also attended the public meeting as it related to the rezoning of McDougall Heights. I've had the opportunity to speak with many residents up there and read through all of your letters and correspondence, so I do appreciate everybody taking the time to connect with council on their concerns, either for or against. It's been great to see engagement nonetheless. And we've had a couple of Annapolis Valley Regional Library meetings as well as we navigate the hiring or interviewing and rather hiring of a new CEO. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zabia.
Thank you. Let's see, so Diversity Kings didn't have a meeting in October, but I'll highlight some of the information from the joint fire meeting on September 29th. They provided their financial report, and as of August 31st, the Kentville volunteer firefighting reported a surplus of a little over $66,000. Their tender closed for a new pumper, and it was awarded to a company called E1. That pumper is going to cost a little over $1.3 million, and the delivery date is projected to be April of 2024. The department was really happy. They're back in schools now with their fire safety programs, and their membership right now sits at 55. For events, I attended the Harvest Festival, which was great. I got to thank the staff at the town of Kentville. You guys continue to outdo yourselves. We appreciate that. Also attended the Pumpkin Walk last week. That was a great turnout. I was here as well for the Bryson Development presentation. I know there's more information coming about that soon. On October 13th, a joint meeting with the County of Kings and the town of Woofle over the Wellness Center. And my expenses this month were $36 for my cell phone, and my year-to-date was $250. Thank you.
Thank you. CAO Troke, could you provide council with an update on the operational matters that were discussed 2 weeks ago at our CAC meeting?
Thank you, Mayor Snow. So I'll start off with just a follow-up. I had a question from Councillor Zabian with regards to rezoning the traffic counts. So the with regards to the traffic study, I was able to discuss with the consultant. The traffic actual counts are done, and everything is now gone to the engineer. So as part of that, there's going to be a report that we would expect to get the end of this month. In addition to that, just to council, the consultant had made aware that if there's any questions or if anybody is interested in seeing any of the other developments that are involved with this developer, that arrangement could be made for further information, or if folks are interested in seeing any of that work. Remo, as discussed by the deputy mayor, there was follow-up from Fiona. There was a lot of things that when you go through tabletop exercises, when you actually have the real exercise, you get an opportunity to go and figure out if you could do it again, what would you do differently? So there's a bunch of work going on there. The regional facilities meetings, as mentioned by Councillor York, it completed a review on the legal RFP, which had closed. And there's work also underway here in town by a group that is looking to restart the Devil's Half Acre Motorcycle Rally. So they're trying to get their feet back under them again after a 2-year absence. So there is a working committee that was being formed of volunteers, and then information that will come out of that will come back to the town. So that's it for today.
Thank you, CAO. All right, and in my report, you have received my report, and what you'll see is that the Intermunicipal Service Agreement Board of Directors, we are now up and running, and we plan to meet on the third Wednesday of every month. And so there will be updates from Valley Waste and King's Transit during that time period. Had a great discussion with the folks from PVSC, so Public Valuation Services. They're the folks who evaluate the value of our properties. And so they're just trying to see what kind of work we need out of them. And I will encourage you that they will be available at the NSFM conference to chat, so take some time and chat with them. And I will also tell you that they have really good pens, so if you need a good pen, make sure you stop at their booth, because they do have a really good one. Some great events around town. September 30th, of course, Kings County Museum held a Truth and Reconciliation celebration with Carolyn Landry. There was smudging, songs, and words to live by, and drumming. And then when all that was over, Carolyn took a group of people and they did a basket making class. So it was really nice. And then, of course, 1st of October, Walk a Mile. Deputy Mayor reported just over 15,000. Well, I guess now it's well over 16,000. And they actually set a record, better than their 2019 take, and best in Canada so far. So they collaborated or coordinated with Harvest Fest for that one, and actually walked through town square in their red shoes, which really made an impression. And then the next day, I was fortunate enough to run a 5K through Miners Marsh, also in support of Chrysalis House, which was absolutely lovely. Last week was Small Business Week, and the Valley Hub was celebrating with coffee every morning, so that was rather nice. On the 13th of October, I did a webinar out of Dalhousie, Research Over Coffee, and it was physical activity as preventative medicine. So Dr. Jonathan Fowles out of Acadia University. I have the webinar recording, and if anybody wants it, just send me an email, because it is really good, and he's a great speaker. And the other really nice thing about it is that when he's talking and showing his slides, there's actually several of the posters the town of Kentville uses for our physical fitness activities and various programming. So anyway, really great. And then another very interesting thing that I did was the rural urban event with Rotary, and went to Ocean Crisp Apples, a tour of the facility. Now, I saw the facility the day that the feds came down to present them with a check, and nothing was up and running at that time. But now everything is running, and what they do is the Honeycrisp apples, and it's really rather cool how they bring them in and they're floated along in water, and then stored and packed. So it's pretty amazing, and just the capacity that they have there. So they actually have 85 pickers picking Honeycrisp apples right now for this plant. I wish I could remember the number of pounds of apples, but it was pretty significant. And their market is the U.S., and people in the U.S. are actually prepared to pay $10 US a pound for Nova Scotia Honeycrisp apples. So just keep that in mind. So that was my report. All right, moving on to our new business. Our first item of new business is with regards to election of the deputy mayor. And in accordance with Town of Kentville Council Policy, Meeting Policy G70, the deputy mayor, Kate Savage, was elected at the October 25th, 2021 council meeting. The deputy mayor is appointed for a term of 1 year. On behalf of council staff and citizens of Kentville, I want to thank Deputy Mayor Savage for her dedicated and committed service to the town and this council as our deputy mayor. So to select a deputy mayor, the chair will call for nominations. If more than one council member is nominated, a selection shall be put to a vote by ballot. The CAO will act as teller. He will distribute slips of paper to all members, including the chair. The members will write their choice for deputy mayor. Council members not nominated may be selected during the voting process. The teller will collect the ballots, count them, ignoring any blank ballots, and results by majority vote will be provided to the chair, who will announce the deputy mayor. The chair will then call for a motion to destroy the ballots. Is there a nomination for deputy mayor? Councillor York.
I'd like to nominate Deputy Mayor Kate Savage.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Savage, do you accept the nomination?
Yeah, yes.
Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Nominations are now closed, Deputy Mayor, you are elected by acclamation. Thank you. Now we don't have to destroy those ballots. Our next item of business is review of the committee appointments. Members of council are requested to review the committees of council and provide your top six, I think we're gonna go, or your top three committees, your top three alternate committees at the November CAC meeting on November 8th. We've got a sheet prepared for you, and if there's more than one person who's looking for a position on a committee, we will put it to a vote. So has everyone got their sheet? If you could have this back to Jennifer by, what date do you want it? It has to be before our CAC meeting, which is on November 14th. So if you had it to Jennifer by November 7th, that means that she can get all the details ready for our council meeting on, when the package goes up on the 9th of November. So fill it in, and you can email it, fax it, hand deliver it to Jennifer, and she will do the magic so that we can see it at our next meeting. And with each of them, you'll see that it tells you how many people are on each one of the committees.
Excuse me, Mayor, so I think there's a couple mistakes there.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, like with the audit committee,
That should be mayor and two.
too, yeah. I
Okay,
don't-
just
I
give me a
didn't check
second
all
here,
of
let me, so you've got that one, mayor and two, which other one?
them. You know what, that's the only one that just stuck out at me. I
Okay.
didn't-
Okay, Counselor Max, just hang on. Counselor Maxwell?
Yeah, student bursary is only one unless we're gonna go with 5 people, because there's 2 citizens there and one counselor.
Okay,
It's a one-day thing. They do their homework and read the applicants, and then a one day to decide, so.
okay, thank you. Are there any other issues noted with this? None? All right, so that's your homework. It's due on November the 8th.
7th,
No? Yes?
November 7th.
November 7th. See, I was already giving you an extra day. Counselor Maxwell?
Yes, I'm wondering if we can, it would help me, I don't know if it'll help anybody else, but I'd like to know when these committees meet, because, you know, I have other work here that I'm trying to do, and I know some people are still in jobs, and so it would be nice to know when the meetings of these committees are.
In some cases, that's, we can't say because they don't have set meeting dates. However, for any that have set meeting dates, we'll provide that. All right, and we have no correspondence this evening. However, for the matter on the Bryson development, as the CAO has already specified, all correspondence received is being logged in an electronic file of which all members of council and staff have access. The correspondence will form part of the file on this matter when it comes before council for reading and as part of the public hearing file. So on land matters, there must be first reading, there must be a public hearing, and then second reading. The public hearing is when members of the public have the opportunity to speak or to write in. If you have already written in, your statement is logged, your comments are logged, and members of council have seen it. And whether you have sent your email to individual councillors, or if you have sent them to council and mayor, or to just a few members of council, that's fine, because they're all getting uploaded. And the manner in which they are put in the file is your last name, a dash, and then whatever subject title you had in your email or letter for ease of tracking. I'm having a problem talking tonight. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. If I might direct to the CAO, through the
Certainly.
chair. CAO Troke, you had mentioned that the developer offered it up to us to, I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember how you phrased it, to come in and speak with us publicly, or how, what does that look like?
So really, there's two options. One is if anybody of council wants to either reach out individually to the consultant or to the developer, any specific questions. And then two, through the consultant, could arrange if there was a desire by any individual on council to see any of the other developers that this developer was involved with. So it would not be a meeting of council, or would not be a group of councilors. This is just individually, and we could either arrange for a telephone call, or if there was a desire to speak with the consultant or through the consultant, that we could arrange for something. So that'd be arranged through me on behalf of anybody with questions.
Okay, because I was just, and when you say the consultant, you're referring to Crystal Fuller?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing I'd like to remind council is whether you're meeting with citizens to look at, walk the land, so to speak, or you're meeting with the developer, please meet in groups smaller than 3. Because if you put 4 councillors together, you have quorum, and that constitutes a meeting, and it is not being a public meeting. So if you are going to walk the land with folks, please manage your numbers. It doesn't matter how many citizens are with you. However, number of councillors does matter, because those are not public meetings, and therefore could get us in a bit of hot water if it came to that. So please be mindful of those things. All right, public comments. Citizens are invited to make comment to council on any matter currently before the council. Please state your name and address. You will be provided with 3 minutes.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council and staff. My name is Dennis Keogh. I've lived at 29 Leishman Boulevard since 1985. I have a few prepared remarks here that I'd like to share with you. I was a town employee for 11 years and a town councillor for 11 years. CEO Troke has been CEO for 20 months. His predecessor was apparently fired for pushing back at council over staff concerns. What do you think the odds are that the current CAO of 20 months fired a senior manager, a director, an employee with 17 years experience, a 61-year-old woman, and we are expected to believe that on his own, a CEO with 20 months experience fired a 17-year employee. Councillor supposedly only found out after the fact by email. Director Beverly Gentleman has been terminated, and there will be no further details provided. That's my understanding. CEO Troke, is it your professional opinion that council members are not entitled to the details? I would find that hard to believe. Members of council, I don't believe anyone runs for office without a real desire to give back to the community. You're asked to take an oath. You don't swear an oath to an individual. You swear an oath to the town and its citizens. Your oath must mean something. You're in a position of public trust. You're duty bound to protect, to defend the town, and to step forward when action is required. So I would offer this: if your own ethics cause you to struggle with how some decisions are made, if the first thing that comes to mind is, I didn't do this, not me, I may not approve, but since it's not me, I don't have to do anything, that would be wrong. That's not how it works. Washing your hands of such matters does not absolve you. It's simply defending the indefensible. You've witnessed all of this. You all know the truth. You know what harm has been done to people's lives, and it continues and will not stop unless you step forward. There will come a time when this council is gone. All councils come and go. You will need, when you reflect back on your time served, you will want it, or possibly you would need it to be with honor and pride. If you have failed to step up now, your service to the town will not be a proud moment for you individually or collectively. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Council has the legal matter which must be conducted in,
I'm Sharon Keogh, and I also live at 29 Alicia Boulevard, and I must be doing something wrong, because I've often, throughout this council anyway, I've sent many letters to council, and somehow they never get included in correspondence. I actually even asked you, Kate, our deputy mayor, to ensure that the last letter that I sent was included, and lo and behold, I don't see it. So if somebody could let me know at some point officially as to what I'm doing wrong so that I can make sure that I follow that step so it is included, that would be great. And then the second thing that I'm asking, which is also something I asked the deputy mayor to follow up on tonight, was where are we with the code of conduct violations being investigated? That was events that happened in the beginning of the year. We were supposed to have a decision that was supposed to be public according to the solicitor in April. It's now October. We have no update. I'm just looking for an update. Just when are we going to have a decision on those violations? It's a public matter. Thank you.
thank you. The council has legal matters which must be conducted in a closed session. We require a motion to go into the closed session to discuss the agenda items, and we will not be returning to Facebook Live for completion of the meeting or adjournment. A motion to move into the closed session to discuss the agenda. Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Huntley. It has been moved and seconded that council move into a closed session. The question is on adoption of the motion to move into a closed session. All those in favor? Those opposed? The motion is carried, and the time is 7:37.